They are members of a family band from Stratford, Ontario, who people refer to as the Perth County Conspiracy. This is Keeper of the Key from their soon-to-be-released album, The Perth County Conspiracy Does Not Exist.
Toronto. Chamber of Commerce guy said to me, Patterson, Stratford has always been a railroad town. And I said, yeah, but I'm planning to change that.
Stratford, Ontario. Originally a railroad center that employed thousands. However, with economic hardship came new opportunities. Tom Patterson brought the arts to the forefront, establishing the Stratford Shakespearean Festival. Building on this artistic foundation, Stratford has also wholeheartedly embraced music. Initiatives like Stratford Summer Music offer an eclectic and sophisticated music experience. Efforts like the Ovation Music Festival that happened in the early 2000s brought prominent Canadian acts to Stratford, such as the Bare Naked Ladies, Simple Plan, and the Tragically Hip, and gave Stratford locals lasting memories. The DIY scene has given local artists a lane to create their own experiences. Stratford has also produced many local success stories. Artists such as Richard Manuel from the band, John Till, who played with Janis Joplin, Dana Manning, a recognized Canadian folk artist, and of course, Justin Bieber. This is not in fact a documentary on the past success stories that have flourished from Stratford origins. Rather, a research video-based inquiry project to hopefully uncover what it takes to establish a connected and thriving music scene. What are some of the positives going on in our local music scene? Are there sufficient opportunities for musicians in town? Is Stratford a viable market for bigger artists and larger scale events? Do locals feel represented, connected, and supported in the local music scene? Are the arts and music truly reflected in our community, or is that just a mere mirage? Harmonizing Stratford, a research-based documentary by Johan Junt. My name is Johan Junt, also known as John. This video is a part of the Masters of Arts and Community Music program at Wilfrid Laurier University. I've conducted a variety of conversations both within the music community of Stratford and some outside of the music community of Stratford, with the goal of developing a deeper picture on the potential that we have as a community and the barriers that we collectively face. I've talked to local musicians, music lovers, event organizers, even our mayor of Stratford, in the hopes of gathering information and intel on ways to synthesize our music scene in order to create more opportunities within Stratford. My love for music started early on. In fact, here's a clip from my very first rock performance, a performance of American Idiot at a Jean Sauvé elementary school talent show. Note these two individuals, but we'll circle back to them later. After that performance, I did put down the guitar for a few years, but I picked it back up when I went to high school at St. Michael's Catholic Secondary School. They had coffee houses, which were a great way for new musicians to showcase their craft and gain confidence in front of their peers. Following high school, I participated in a variety of DIY shows, opening up for a staple rock band in Stratford called The Plants at our local Army and Navy and local Legion. These cumulative experiences fueled my ambition to pursue new musical opportunities in town, whether it be through my personal endeavors like my rock band Small Town Strip Club that's been an ongoing project since 2017, or by creating new community events such as Job Site Open Mic Night or Rock the Muse at the Stratford Perth Museum. I remain dedicated to being a contributor to our local music scene. St. Mike's Coffee Houses, as well as open mic nights at the Bull Ring at the University of Guelph, gave me an opportunity to step outside of my comfort zone and work on my craft and musicianship. Back in 2019, I realized that the Stratford community was lacking a platform for emerging artists to develop and showcase their craft. I also realized that there's a barrier to entry when it comes to getting out there and performing in front of others, as venue connections can sometimes be hard to obtain and PA systems can often have hefty upfront rental costs. Thus, in order to fill a gap within the community, driven by an entrepreneurial spirit, I applied for a student government grant program called Summer Company, which enabled me to start my own personal music business titled JY Music. This venture aimed to create more live performance opportunities around town. As a result, open mic nights at Job Site Brewing Company emerged. Job Site owner Phil Bueller was open-minded and he's a community-oriented person, so the partnership was a no-brainer.
I'm Philip Bueller. I'm one of the original owners and founders. 2017, we incorporated the name Job Site Brewing. Came up with it on the job site. We're two workers, carpenters, licensed trade people. And the fact that this building was owned by a construction company, it was a lumber yard, it was a hardware store, it just made sense. Shortly after we opened, it kind of snowballed. Like, we had one or two events, and then the idea that it was big enough that people could just come with a large group randomly without a reservation, it kind of went from there. Then I think we reached out to you at some point in time for some music, and then we had a couple bands played before, and we just realized like that goes hand in hand. So you've got a little bit of live music, local talent, and that just really solidifies that community hub. Like, people kind of claimed this place as theirs pretty quickly. You've managed to coordinate, organize, make all sorts of things more streamlined without me helping, which is fantastic. But yeah, like, it started off fairly small, and I remember those first couple acts, you might have gotten the question too, but we got it a lot, was, can my son come or can my daughter come? Because that stigma of it being a bar, people are always like, oh, well, I can't bring my kids. And then after a while, we had lots of younger acts, and then we had all sorts of variety, and then people of all ages would come. And I think just the idea, like you had said, there wasn't really much of a scene of any sort before. And then all of a sudden to have some sort of a consistent outlet or consistent opportunity, I think that was pretty, it's been pretty influential in town, yeah.
All in all, it's been incredible to see Job Site Open Mic Nights grow over the years. I've seen people form friendships, people really hone in their musical craft, hone in their songwriting. People form bands here. And it's just overall been an awesome community event, not even for musicians, for people looking to grab a pint, some pizza and some popcorn after work to enjoy some tunes on a Thursday. And it's also a very family-friendly environment. We've had kids as young as 8 years old perform, and people of older demographics perform, and it's just been humbling to see people come together in the name of music. Right now we're about to kick off our last open mic of the season. Typically we take a little bit of a summer break, and we've got a stacked lineup, and you'll get to have a little sneak peek of what Job Site Open Mic Nights look like.
So my name's Graham Shaw. My stage name's Uncle G. I'm from Kintore, which is about 25-ish minutes outside of Stratford, really small town. I just recently started playing in Stratford in the music scene. I just recorded an album over the last few months, and so I just started playing around, and it's been really welcoming. I was surprised at how many places I could play immediately, how many open mics there were, how many different venues there are that supported original artists, which is something that I really looked out for because I like to do original music, so it's been really welcoming and awesome to get to the scene.
I've only been in this no-horse town 3 years, and it was the first thing that opened up like 3 years ago after COVID, and it was a godsend.
I saw the open mic in a job site in Stratford, and I came out and I was scared shitless like everybody else is their first time, but I kept coming out, and it was such a welcoming environment, and just to be able to perform, and you know, it's never too late in life to start these things. There's a lot of like young kids, and it's really inspiring, and it's great to see a lot of younger kids playing music that I listened to when I was their age. So it's interesting seeing the taste in music and how things come full circle, and it's always just a really great time and a great evening out.
My name's Wade Whitaker. I've been playing a job site on and off for about 5 years, and it's come a long way, both the professionalism of equipment and the setup and the presentation, and also the musicianship. And it's kind of got a reputation in the area for a pretty good open mic to come to. Proof is in the pudding, and a lot of job site open mic singers, players, have gone on to get their own solo gigs at various places. So I think it's doing its job in terms of being an incubator of talent.
The best way that Stratford has grown musically over the last couple of years is just the venues have opened up. Like on Wellington Street there, you got the Bunker, Starlight, Bijou started it up, The Common. I don't know what prompted them all to do that, but it's a blessing for us musicians because that's the only way we really get to play is if they want to hire us for that.
Stratford's an artistic community, and it's a real melting pot. It has almost everyone in here, and I think if it can just keep fostering that community aspect, that spirit, that music and arts and events, I think it's just going to be a better and better place to live. It's a decent sized city, but it's still small enough that you can know most of the people, or you can know if things are going on, and it can accommodate a decent percentage of the city coming to those events. So I think Stratford kind of has this perfect formula to make it all happen, but it takes dedicated people.
Just as job site open mic nights are a great entry point for emerging artists, the Bunker offers even more opportunities. Located less than 1 kilometer away from job site on Wellington Street near the heart of downtown Stratford, the Bunker is dedicated to supporting musicians with a space designed for their growth. It's an intimate setting with excellent acoustics, truly spotlighting local artists. Co-owners John Crawford and Jeremy Berg share how the Bunker came to be and their vision for the Stratford music scene.
Well, the Bunker, we started about 2.5 years ago, and we started just as a cafe. But really the whole vision behind the Bunker at that time was just to have a place for artists to play. I think at that time around Stratford there wasn't really a lot of spots. There wasn't a lot musically happening, and
yeah, we just wanted to like have a space where the artist was just made the center of attention. So like we built the stage, we put it in the middle of the room, so it was a lot different than just like playing in the corner of your general like bar or restaurant. It was more just the artist is front and center, and to like going along with that, just to develop like up and coming artists in the community as well, just to see people grow their talents in general.
Yeah, and that's just about where myself and my wife stepped in. We became patrons of the Bunker and immediately recognized the potential of the room. I mean, we came, we fell in love. She got on stage. The Bunker welcomed her with open arms to develop her craft. And we really, really appreciated having a space to do that. Mm-hmm. So the opportunity came for us to partner in and get the liquor license, and we jumped on it. And really, like, I mean, we asked ourselves at the time, how many other artists are there out there in the same situation? That they have a musician inside them, you know, they've got this music, maybe they have a story to tell, you know, a craft to develop, what have you, and how many are there out there, especially in a town like Stratford, that just lack the space to do it. I mean, just being given a stage as an artist, sometimes that's all it takes. Time and a stage, supportive community, the rest can become history. Yeah.
We kind of start off Tuesdays with karaoke, and then we jump into Wednesday open mic, Thursday open mic as well.
Yeah, keeping on that theme, just kind of keeping it fun at the beginning of the week, and then a little more professionalism gets kind of speckled in. So Fridays and Saturdays. Fridays we call our Friday night sessions, and that is really a singer-songwriter night. It's a bit of a hybrid evening in between an open mic and a Saturday feature show. So we're an open mic, we might have somebody come in, do a 15-20 minute slot, have a lot of great time playing. We might identify some people with exceptional talent and ask them, hey, you know, what's your story? Where'd you learn how to play? Yeah. Do you have more music you'd like to play? Like, what is it you're looking for, you know, when you come to the Bunker? Is it stage time? Is it just social time? Like, you know, you tell us. And then through that process, the Friday night sessions kind of happen where we find people that they do have more music. So they want to get on stage, and so we offer them a slot. And it was our kind of creative idea to keep it to either a covers set or an original set, to kind of separate who's getting on stage and why. So we'll have an artist get on set, and when it's a cover set, it acts really like an extended open mic. An original set on a Friday would consist of an artist that is writing their own original music and needs a platform to get it out there. One thing we hear from musicians is when they do go to play their originals, a venue might ask that they keep it down to a minimum where people are more interested in hearing covers. Maybe they're at like a brewery or a pub, something like that, and they'll allow them one or two originals. We want to just flip everything on its end and say, well, okay, you can do an original set. We would love that, 10 or 12 original songs, and at max, we'll allow you to do one or two covers, and it's got to have your own kind of a feel on it, you know, your own spin. And then Saturdays is our feature show. So Saturday Night Live, that was in place for
since the beginning.
Since the beginning, yeah. And that's just giving a special night out, a date night for an act that is fully vetted. Now this is going to be a touring solo duo act, maybe a full band, and what you could expect to see on a Saturday Night Live is somebody a little more seasoned. Again, continuing with giving our local singer-songwriters a platform, and if they don't happen to have a feature show and we book maybe a touring band, I'd like to match up some Stratford talent with a touring band as an opening act, and they can gain exposure that way.
We wanted the Bunker to be a good place to play, like a good experience for the artists playing here, and we wanted to give them the best possible experience and the most professional experience that we could. So we invested very heavily in our sound equipment that we have and lighting as well, for the artists, but also for the audience too, because being being a listening room, which is a term that not everybody really or always understands like what that means. Really, it's just a place where the music is, I guess, respected, you could say. Like, they're coming in for the music. They're coming in to listen to the music. So if they are talking, they're keeping like the talking levels, fairly low, respecting the artist on stage. And also, like, with that, we didn't want to have it be an uncomfortable listening experience. So like right behind me, we have like the isolated drum booth. So whenever we have full bands, the drummer's in the booth, which, sometimes they're a little like, it's a different experience for a drummer being like isolated, but it just helps the whole experience, especially for the audience, when we can just fully have control over the sound and like what the audience is hearing. It just makes for that much better of an experience.
One artist from London who's coming kind of regularly, she coined the phrase very, very well. She says she loves coming to the bunker. It's where artists can come and practice being professional. And I just thought that hit home so hard.
Wellington Street pulses with music, earning the nickname the Wellington Walk from the bunker's co-owner John Crawford. As on many weeknights or any given weekend night, you can stroll down the street and experience a range of live performances, each spot with its own unique vibe. From the bunker to the Common, to Bijou, to Starlight, and even at Market Square. Wellington Street is a bright spot in Stratford's music scene, offering vibrant spots to enjoy live music. Before we dive into some of these stories behind the venues and initiatives, let's hear from Stratford's mayor on the vital role that music plays within our community.
I think of something like, and I was just down there last week to take a look because I've heard about it and it's a buzz. I'm a great radio listener, local radio in the morning, but the bunker. I think about the bunker, and it's a small location. They're looking to get up to 50 individuals, with regards to fire regulations in that, where it's an opportunity for new acts to come on stage. That might be your first gig, in public, and also an opportunity to bring in outside smaller acts. Finding locations where they can display what they produce. And I think we can do a better job, or should do a better job, of providing spaces for artists to display. I'm Martin Ritzma. I'm the current mayor of the city of Stratford. I'm into my second year as the mayor of Stratford. I think about our early city hall, which burnt in 1897. And that city hall was built at a time when the population of Stratford was, literally just in the thousands, it was several thousand. And they built a city hall that had a market. It had certainly a city hall council chamber, but an auditorium that could seat up to 2,000 people. And so when people came to Stratford, they came from countries that valued the arts and valued music, whether the English, the Irish, the Welsh, the Germans. Those were our early settlers, the Scottish, that we know how they valued music, and they started us on this journey. And as I also shared the other night, I was preparing to do opening remarks for Stratford Summer Music, their 24th season. And just going over to the den and pulling off the shelf a book called 42 Wellington Street, which is just across the way here in Market Square. And it's a historical recount of what was going on in Stratford in the early 1900s. And it's just an incredible time in our history where music was just celebrated, and celebrated by local musicians and people coming in from Mitchell and Milverton and Tavistock and bringing their local, flavor into the city of Stratford. So much then and so much now that we'll get into as we go along.
My name is Megan Jones, and I own the Starlight here in Stratford. We started doing live music pretty much right when we opened here. So we have live music, mostly supporting local bands, Saturdays, Sundays, and Mondays. Stratford has a great base of local talent. And that's what we found when we moved here and when we took over the Starlight. We thought there was a lack of venues that were supporting local artists or having live music, and that in part had a lot to do, I think, with COVID and kind of the temporary pause on people socializing in spaces. But yeah, so I do think I see the scene strengthening, and this year, even compared to last year, there's a lot more venues in town supporting local music. There's more festivals, there's more music in public spaces. It feels to me in Stratford there's this like rebirth of live music over the last year. We do have music every Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And each night is geared a little differently. So Saturday is a later show. It's a lot of like cover music, definitely local focus for the most part, and kind of fun, upbeat tempo type stuff. And then Sunday we do an earlier show. We call it a matinee, but it's a 6 o'clock show. And that we call it like a musician-centered show. So it's more like folky, a little bit of jazzy, a lot of instrumental stuff. Sometimes we have like a 3-piece band. And Monday is always piano. So we have a piano here, so we do live piano music. Yeah, I think for the future of the Stratford music scene to continue to grow, which I think it's in a really great kind of like growth phase now, we need people to come out and support live music nights at our venues, at our festivals, in public spaces. I think collaboratively we need to understand that artists also need to get paid. So coming up with like creative ways potentially for artists to get paid what they deserve to be paid, while also making sure people are coming to the venues to see them, so that we can afford as a venue to continue to support local artists. I think that's really important, and maybe a collaborative chat about that amongst businesses and coming up with creative ideas to do so is important. But I really just think it's coming out and supporting artists in everything they do, because Stratford is such like an eclectic, unique community for musicians, and I think it's really important that people come out, because if they don't come out, then we can't support it.
Bijou's 25 years old. It's a farm-to-table restaurant. Mark and Linda Simone have owned it the past 10 years. The restaurant really has grown, from what I understand, in segments, predominantly with just the back room, and then ended up, they were able to take this storefront, which was, I believe, a flower shop, and then there was another, the store with the exposed brick wall was like a fabric store. So we started music basically almost 3 years ago. So 2 years ago, 6 weeks prior to Christmas, because we were busy for the dinners, and we were thinking, okay, what can we help people, because it is a festive atmosphere, can we get them talking a little longer or hanging out a little more? So we started 6 weeks prior to Christmas, and it was really well received, and we used all local musicians like Chucky Zare from Tavistock, Stevie Toman from Grastock. So it was well received. Fast forward to last year, Mark and Peter and Stu and I had a conversation and basically decided that we were going to do every Friday, Saturday. So since then, basically it started in March, and we'll go right through every Friday, Saturday until the week before Christmas, when we close for 6 weeks.
About 20 years ago, there was, lots of shows. There were lots of different bars in Stratford, lots of choices. Like the DH is no longer a bar; it's been taken down. And there are Molly Blooms, and even like the Hub. They would have shows, every Friday night. You could go out, and it was a really good culture. And then, for whatever reason, there's nothing for local bands. There's like no basements for punk rock shows, or there was nothing for whatever rhyme or reason. But now it's starting to happen again. And when the guys and the owner decided to start doing music, it was really like, it was important to me, because I used to play in bands, and we used to play in spots. So to like create that culture and that consistency for people to be able to have a spot and like go out and to be able to like express their art, that'll create like a better culture. Even now on Wellington Street, we have 3 different places who are doing the shows, and you can go down on a Friday night and you can get one drink at Starlight and see like 4 or 5 songs, and come to Bijou, have another drink, and see a few more songs, and go to the Bunker or the Common next. And you've had a full night of like different music, and they might be all different genres.
All the artists seem really happy about being able to have a small, intimate venue to perform at, and it really helps us out. I feel like it helps them out. We have a lot of people who come for music, and they get here and they say, "Oh, I've never been here before." So then we see them repeat, coming to eat the next time, or just coming to see live music every Friday and Saturday. We've had Jordan Davis come in from London, and he's brought in a whole different crowd. Like, we'll fill out certain rooms of, again, people who've never been here before. So it gives us exposure, it gives them a great place to play. I mean, it's just pretty symbiotic for everyone. Stratford's so quiet after 8 p.m. and it has been for the last 5 years, so giving the locals something to finally do is just fantastic, and it's a big part of what I want to do. It also gives staff a fun little end to the night as well. You have a really busy service, and then you can just kick back, relax, if you're cut early, you can just enjoy music for an hour or so.
The quality of acts that we have is, like, honestly second to none. The quality of who those people are as musicians, and especially as people, is also, like, unbelievable. Like, none of them have attitude. They're grateful to be here. They're respectful. So the synergy is awesome. I mean, it feels good. This room is, surprisingly to me, the acoustics are phenomenal.
Oh, very good.
So it gives you that kind of kitchen party feel from the East Coast, but yet the food is phenomenal. The atmosphere is great. I would like to see, I think the toughest thing we're having right now is to educate our consumers, because the food is phenomenal and it is world class, that people have the impression that the pricing would be unattainable, and that's not true. So the food is fairly priced. We have a different menu that starts at 8 o'clock for late night, as well as our drink prices are comparable to any place in Stratford, and I mean any place in Stratford. So the drink pricing is fair, the atmosphere is great, and just get that information out, and I think it's like anything, as the more it grows, and from a positive perspective, that positivity just expands. For true musicians, it's part of their soul, so they need to express it somewhere, and the fact that we can be a venue or a vessel for that, that's awesome.
My name is Steph Sellers. I'm from Stratford, Ontario, and here I'm a part-time support worker and part-time musician. Stratford is an amazing arts community, so we have lots of potential performances around here. Stratford is a hub for music currently, and I'm happy to be in a duo that is pretty busy in this area and the surrounding areas. So I'm fortunate enough to be pretty busy as like a soloist or in a duo, but I have a lot of friends that are in bands, and I find that shows with full bands are limited lately, or they're not happening too much. So I'd like to see more live band shows happening and more festivals, because we have tons of venues in the area to put on larger scale events, and I think that should be utilized in the city.
I'm first and foremost a singer, songwriter, and artist. My name's Dana Manning. I have 7 albums out, 4 under my solo name, 3 under a band called Trent Severn. I have a business now called The Folk Army, where I mentor and teach young students beginner guitar and ukulele and singing. So that's been a really, really, really fun, evolving project for me. I produce events, different events, a lot of my own shows, and I produce events for the city of Stratford, such as Canada Day or Market Square Music. So for me, when I was a kid, I think a lot of people saw like movie stars or Much Music or these kind of things on television, and I did too, but I also saw the Stratford Festival right in front of me. I was able to go and watch artists on another level perform and deliver songs, music, performances, and sold the minute I walked in the place. So when I was 8 years old, I saw Lucy Peacock in My Fair Lady, and I thought that's what I was going to do. So that had a huge influence on me, seeing someone in front of me make performance art on that level. I did find growing up there was a bit of a separation from that professional Stratford Festival performance group, where a lot of people came into town from out of town to be part of that, and us. And I found that there was a lack of places to play, maybe compared to other communities, because we weren't allowed to access the best stages in town. But that, over time, has changed, and we've seen a lot of investment in different buildings, like Avon United Church is one that I think of, Lorena McKennett with the Falstaff Center. So a lot of things kind of grew. Even just this Market Square didn't exist. So the communities really come together to kind of make those performance spaces. So I think that sometimes the groups aren't quite as connected as we could be, but that it's getting better. I don't know how to. I think the bunker is helping. I think places like Job Site Brewing, the open stage helps people come out and meet each other. But I think that it is a remarkably positive place to be as a musician, and that so many great musicians come out of here.
Now that we've explored Wellington Street and some of the key music initiatives near the heart of downtown Stratford, let's take a deeper dive by connecting with other key voices within the community. We'll hear from musicians, music shop owners, local radio hosts, and even a chat with Stevie T, a community music leader, as he gives us insight and an inside look on Stratford Live, an iconic local event, and how it came to be.
On back to my hotel room, where I got me a date with a pretty little girl from Stratford.
So we're a folk duo called the York Street Thought Process, and we're both folk singer-songwriters. We do a little bit of solo work as well, but we perform a lot in the Stratford area as a duo. We have an album coming out this fall, so that's the next big thing that we're working through.
There are some really, really good musicians here, and the actual musician community is very strong and supportive. We do have the Stratford Festival here, which is a big draw for tourists, and there's a decent amount of singer-songwriter and other genres.
Yeah, I think a strength too is that there's a few places in town that also allow for opportunity for younger musicians to have a chance to play. I know the Livery Yard hosts a lot of younger acts as well, that it sort of just gives them a space to get used to gigging, have a sort of spot to play their music in town, which is nice.
Yeah, I find that the biggest struggle, and it's a struggle that exists like everywhere. I was just chatting with some friends, even in Toronto, which is the big city center close to us, is just like getting people out to see music in general is probably the hardest thing, and especially a younger crowd. We do a lot of folk music and original singer-songwriter music, but generally a lot of our audiences when we go out places are the 40-plus crowd, and it'd be really nice to be able to reach a younger audience. And I don't know what the solution is to getting younger people out.
I don't know, we're already starting to see a couple music festivals happening in town, which I feel like something more like that, bringing those sorts of things in is really great. John runs Rock the Muse in Stratford, which is a great little fall music festival. We just had the Onrush Festival that sort of brought in a lot of live music, that sort of thing.
Stratford live music.
Yeah.
Like, you always have to straddle the line between like cool upcoming artists that are maybe lesser known, because I think it's really important to push that. And I know like different arts festivals love to bring in different acts, but then you have the local crowd that perhaps would be less likely to come out and see an act that they don't know. So definitely dispersing the local well-known acts with some more upcoming real art, like acts from around Ontario and Canada would definitely help foster like artistic growth in this area.
Some of the big strengths of the Stratford music scene, it really depends what you mean by music scene and what kind of music you're interested in, because we have institutions like, you know, Stratford Summer Music, there's inner chamber. So, you know, if you're into certain types of music like folk, world music, maybe Celtic, stuff like that, you're going to be pretty well served by them. There are also quite a few really solid cover acts. You're able to see music sort of in the background at different bars downtown. There's lots of really nice bars for that. There's great opportunities for new musicians to play on open stages like at open mics. And the last thing is that there's been a push in the last couple years with a number of bands pushing towards new original music and some folks interested in showcasing new original music. There are some difficulties we face in the Stratford music scene just on a level of our economic situation and the demographics in our area. So for example, we are not a university town and we don't necessarily have a ton of opportunities for smart creative youth. So our smart creative youth tend to move away, and do they return? When do they return? Do they return and live here during their prime music creating and consuming years? I think on the whole, they tend not to. To address the big picture structural challenges of the independent original music scene, I think that there's choices that need to be made at a higher level in terms of how we develop economically and what types of economic opportunities we pursue. I think things like the University of Waterloo campus are phenomenal for moving in this direction. So if that campus was to expand, the programs there to expand, we would have more young creative people in the area who would be interested in attending shows, starting bands, just collaborating with the artists that are already in town to develop that kind of scene. And I think part and parcel of that, like I think reform at a municipal level, we're talking about Stratford, reform at a municipal level to make it easier to build housing would be important. There's a lot that can be done in terms of like the official plan and zoning to legalize housing, higher densities of housing, missing middle housing, make that easier to build, and also continue to build non-market housing like the city of Stratford did build non-market housing on Britannia Street. And if they can build more of that and continue to be entrepreneurial with projects like that, then that would free up housing market capacity, which would be a great thing for young artists being able to afford to live here. I think also, and this may be the most actionable thing in terms of my wish list, something like a year-round promoter, like a grassroots nonprofit organization dedicated to giving local acts a platform and also connecting them with exciting acts from nearby cities or national acts. That would be really, really great for the city. So we'll once in a blue moon have an artist like Slow Leaves or Cat Clyde come through town. And if there was an organization dedicated to making that happen like on a bi-monthly basis, I think that would really stimulate local musicians, give them an opportunity to connect to other really exciting original artists, and it would just and also that would help cultivate a sort of a standing audience in the city, so that new artists could have people interested in hearing original music when they put a show out. And I would say the good news and bad news of all of this is that a lot of it can be accomplished by relatively few people just making a dedicated effort. One way to sort of strengthen that would be to intentionally build an institution around those kind of efforts. As I say, something like a grassroots nonprofit that has a board or a collective that is interested in doing that and interested in succession planning, so that that keeps happening even if key players, move out of the scene.
So my name is Nevin Douglas, and I'm a professional guitar repair technician. I've been working on guitars for about 20 years now, and this is my shop here in Stratford. In about 2007, I got a job at the 12th Fret Guitar Shop in Toronto. World-class repair shop. My knowledge as a repair tech really started to build up properly and everything. Moved here to Stratford, and I'd been, I'd set up thousands of guitars by that point and done a bunch of other sorts of repair work. So it just made sense for me to, start up my own repair shop here. When I first started doing my own repair shop here, it was a big experiment for me. I was new to town, hardly knew anybody at all. I didn't know what kind of a music scene there was around Stratford. I was shocked at how many guitar players and musicians were just coming out of the woodwork left, right, and center. And so I very quickly realized, like, oh, there's a ton of musicians here. there's a lot of musical talent in this town. I got to know Stratford a little better and got to be more familiar with, what was happening downtown and everything. It seemed like there was less music going on than I would have thought, considering how many musicians are here, right? Like there were not a lot of venues to play at. There were places to play for certain types of performers. There are plenty of places where you could have, one or two people in the corner of a restaurant or bar playing, and that's awesome. That's great. But I wasn't seeing a lot of many places for full bands to play. From what I can tell, I mean, part of what's been so exciting about the music scene in Stratford here is, like, in the past year, maybe 18 months, like, it's really started to pop off. You've got more and more places for people to play. I'm seeing more local bands popping up all the time. So that's been really exciting to watch. And so both with my repair shop here, and then also the people that I meet when I'm doing sound at the bunker downtown, I get people coming to me from London, from Kitchener, from Guelph. They're traveling to come to Stratford, and in some cases, they're having me work on their instruments, and that's super cool because I know there's plenty of repair places between me and Guelph, but people are still choosing to come here, which is awesome. But also in terms of performers, right? Like there's lots and lots of musicians who are coming here to do it. So that's exciting. Like, I think it's a really cool time for the music scene here.
I've been working for the local music retailer for the past decade, doing different promotions where we try to help out with rental gear for a certain, the Stratford Summer Music Festival, different things like that. Helping out with Rock the Muse last year and those types of events. Usually what we try to do is some help with the rental gear to help make some of these shows happen. Stratford is always a place that struggles a little bit. It ebbs and flows. It feels like sometimes it picks up and then drops back down again. Mostly, I think, due to venues. I think the thing that keeps it strong is that there's always people trying to keep it going. Things like, most recently, your Rock the Muse or your Onrush, like people that have just said, hey, there's not a lot happening, let's try to make something happen. Because like I said, we struggle to have venues. There's cities around us that have that constant hall or like the Music Hall in London or your Maxwell's in Waterloo, or these places that can just host things all of the time. And I spent most of my time playing in floors of bars and stuff like that, sometimes places that don't even have stages. There's a lot of community. I feel like a lot of the people that I know around here are from those events or from bands. I think that we do a lot of bringing in different world types of acts and music, and we don't seem to give the same backing to your rock and roll songwriter, original act music that some of those places do. I don't see why it wouldn't be supported by the community. I think it would be well attended. It's just going to take the right push.
Steve Toman, and I'm a musician, and I've been in and around the Stratford area for well over 40 years. Played in many of bands in and around the Stratford area for, since the 80s. Expanded quite a bit since then. Stevie T Band, of course, we all have a lot of influences, but most of our stuff comes from blues rock, rock from the 70s, rock from the 60s. That's the roots of it all, and we've all had a very good knowledge of that style of music. Stratford Blues and Rib Fest really got rolling in 2009 was our first year. With a dear friend of mine, Stu Lang, and we had a vision that a great spot to have a festival would be in Stratford, and we had this vision that we could do that. And my friend Stu Lang was, at the time, he was doing little shows at the Optimus Hall in Stratford, Stu was a retired school teacher, principal. He started to involve into a thing that he called Stu's Blues, and he was doing these small shows at the Optimist Hall. From there, went into the City Hall in Stratford, and it was called Stratford Live at City Hall. Couple of years of doing shows there. Worked at Knox Church, the basement of Knox Church. Worked in what they call the Hall in Stratford. So there was a number of different venues that we were using to do these shows. And in 2006, we really had the idea that we'd like to get some sort of musical festival going. Planning, and more planning, and trying to get the city involved, which is you just have to follow the rules and find out what they expect and what they need from you. And so more planning. And of course, it wasn't until 2009, another dear friend came in and loaned us some money to get it going. So we did our first one at the Almond Arena in Stratford. It went well, quite successful, enough that we were able to get by enough to do another one. And it started to evolve from there. Had its ups and downs, venue changes. We moved it from there. We went down to where it currently is now, which is on Veterans Drive. In 2016, Stu, my dear friend, was moving, and he wanted to, at the time, he wondered if I would be interested in being involved with taking over his position, which was lead organizer of the festival. And so I decided I would help out, get involved. And from there, through committee members, through hard work of many people, we're able to have a quite a successful event. So, and we hope to continue it that way.
Hi, I'm Jamie Cottle. I do the morning show at CJCS. That's the local radio station. We do have two stations. I'm on the 107.1 CJCS side. We also have another FM station, Today FM 107.7. So two stations in Stratford. I do the morning show at CJCS, and I've been kind of on the air for the most part well over 25 years, and certainly have seen the Stratford music scene change and evolve, certainly over the years, for sure. I've hosted Stratford Live. That's the Stratford Live music and food event that gathers incredible local artists at the Bandshell on Veterans Drive. And I've seen the music scene in Stratford really develop and kind of change over the years. I'm absolutely blown away by the talent that is in Stratford. People like Dana Manning, people like Brittlestar, Stuart Reynolds. Now, of course, Stuart Reynolds has kind of gone on to be sort of king of all media and sort of a big multimedia thing. But again, even a band like Brittlestar, so many great acts and artists over the years. In the past, with our other FM station, at one time when it first launched, we did what was kind of like when it was known as Mix FM, we did a Mix Backyard, where we did feature local artists, people like, Upside of Maybe with Michael Bannerman, Ali Matthews, Dana Manning, as I mentioned, so many great local artists. I'm just blown away by the talent that they're getting their music out there. Rant Maggie Rant has its origins here in Stratford. We got the Bookends. We've got so many amazing bands and so many more to come. Certainly for Stratford area music scene, I think there's great places where they can play. It could be better, for sure. I think that's what certainly a lot of people talk about. It'd be nice if maybe we had bigger concert venues for some of these artists or for artists coming into Stratford. But for locally, we do have some great places where they can play, and it's becoming more and more. Places like the Hall, we've got events like Stratford Live Music and Food. So it is getting better, but I think it could get even better if we had more of a devotion for music and more places where people can play, that sort of thing.
So I'm Kate Ahrens, and I am I'm on air, I'm the promotions coordinator, and I'm a music director at Today FM in Stratford, and I also work for CJCS because we're in the same building. I moved to Stratford just over a year ago, so I'm really new to the community, and getting to know the community has been my favorite part. I mean, coming to a small market and working at a small radio station is what I wanted to do. Because community is my jam. So I walked into my interview my first day here and I said, I'm a very community-oriented person, and they were like, yep, perfect, right? So yeah, the music scene here has been really interesting, getting to know people. I haven't gotten out as much as I want to, but I'm really looking forward to more music events in the future and getting to know all of our really talented local musicians. I was really, really honored when you actually invited me to MC Rock the Muse last fall. That was such a big deal to me. I was really pumped up about it, and it was so fun because the weather was crap, let's be real. It was freezing, it was raining for most of the morning. Like, we kicked off at noon. And it was just awful outside. People had winter coats on in October. And, you know, luckily we had those like fire tables. So people were fighting to stay warm. But the fact that everybody still showed up and came to enjoy the music, came to support local musicians, that really speaks to how Stratford feels and how they care about their local musicians and they support local. There are so many possibilities with that. We can bring in larger artists but have local opening acts, and that gets their name out there, you know. I think more music festivals is a must. Like, we gotta have more festivals because people come out and they show their love for local musicians and artists.
While there are still many important conversations to be had with stakeholders within our Stratford music community, it's also valuable to draw insights from other thriving communities. For instance, Riverfest Elora has cultivated an incredible community and tourist event that has grown and evolved over the years. We'll also be sitting down with Amit from The Good Company, a production company based in the Kitchener-Waterloo region, to explore how media production, events, and creative innovation can enhance and uplift music communities. These broader perspectives will help us understand how we can continue to strengthen Stratford's music scene.
My name is David Lander. I'm the Executive Director of Riverfest Elora as of October 2023, which is about 9 months ago.
Crazy. So I'm Spencer Shewan. I've been with Riverfest since 2013 in an ever-increasing kind of capacity. And for the last several years until we hired David back in October, my title was executive and artistic director. So I was trying to manage the business side of things as well as the artistic side of things. And then so now that I am the artistic director and David is the executive director, a lot of my role throughout the year, half the year, is spent booking the lineup. It's a lot of communication back and forth, more than anyone ever realizes, and just building lists and trying to get to the point where we have 55-ish bands confirmed for the festival. And then dealing with the production company and all the technical side of things as well, advancing with all the artists, booking the hotel, all of that stuff. Riverfest started in 2009 as a kind of a backyard party fundraiser out here at the Elora Center for the Arts, as a fundraiser for the Elora Center for the Arts. And then it ran like that for a few years. They moved it to Bissell Park. It was just a one-day thing. The first one had a couple hundred people. I think by 2012, they had about 1,000 people. 2013, it moved to a slightly bigger event.
Yeah.
With like Ashley McIsaac and Born Ruffians and Rich O'Coin. And then 2014, they kind of really decided to bump it up. And I think the whole point of the festival really was to bring a younger tourism to Elora, but also do something for the community here and have something really like that the town of Elora could be proud of. I will say also, I think looking at I moved here in 2013, I believe. Yeah, when I started working with the festival, and at that time, I would say the average age of the tourist was 60 plus. And I think that Riverfest, along with other factors in the town, but I think Riverfest has played a huge role in dropping that average age down by about 30 years. Like it seems genuinely like there are more families, young people in their 20s coming to Elora to experience the quarry. That, you know, they come to the festival and then they come back throughout the year. So I think it's definitely played a role in that.
And I think when you say the average drops down, I think that older demographic still absolutely coming. It's just an increase. So it's like Riverfest has been part of a few organizations I think that have really made Elora kind of a destination to come to
and really revitalized
it and really for multiple people with multiple interests, which is very hard to do with a village town this small.
A lot of the stuff that I've watched come through Stratford, up until like a few years ago, my mom was living there, so I was there a lot in the summer and stuff, and I've always had family there. But it's a lot of the programming that people are doing on that level seem to be for people in the 55 plus kind of range, and I feel like there's definitely like a lot of room there for broader programming, younger shows. I also feel like the demographics in the last 10 years at Stratford are changing quite a bit. Like I feel like it's, I'm saying this like I have no idea. I've not seen any actual like study or anything, but just in my own experience, I feel like there is definitely like a younger population that's coming in, and maybe a broader like there's more people coming from the city moving to Stratford, moving here to Elora. By the city, I mean any kind of big city.
Yeah, I think again, I could talk for hours on this, but just trying to support diverse programming.
Yeah.
And that means not only helping to put those shows on if you're capable, but going to different shows. So like go to that like 50-person, 55 plus soft seater show and see that singer-songwriter, but also like go support the local like punk band.
Yeah.
And like just go to those things and like because it's just a kind of a melting pot of like creativity. It's not like if you're just focused on one thing, it's gonna get pretty dull pretty quick.
Yeah.
But there's always people there that want to do cool things. They often just don't feel like they have a space to do it.
Yeah, and you almost need a few people that are willing to take risks on things.
My name is Amit. I'm the founder of Good Company Productions. We are based in Kitchener. We're a production company that focuses on live music, but we cover everything from live audio, lighting, video, staging, design, things like that for artists. So we work specifically in a creative capacity with musicians, record labels, and venues. We were founded officially in 2019, but we've been hosting shows since I think 2015 or 16. So one of the things that makes us unique is we are both a production company and a promoter. So although we work with others to supply production, we also host our own shows and use our own equipment on those as well. So there are 4 tiers that we typically work at. The first is free shows. So we do a fair amount of shows that are free to the public every summer, for which we find different sponsors and partners to help make the shows free. Those are meant to keep music accessible, but also to showcase a mix of local talent with touring talent in a way that anyone can see it. Above that, we have our own ticketed shows. These are secret shows that we do in different businesses around downtown Kitchener, uptown Waterloo, and places like that. Those are a little bit cooler in that they're meant to highlight both different types of music, but also different spaces in which music can be held. And it's a unique challenge for us, but it's also a unique offering because we own all of our own equipment. So as a promoter, we can walk into any space and figure out how to make it work for a show. But in doing so, we're also leaning into the space that we produce within. So we've done concerts in places like hair salons, garages, coffee shops, tech offices, museums, like you name the space, we've probably done a show there. Above that, we have our venue partner shows. So these are partners and other outside promoters that we work with to support their production needs and also to support their talent needs. So an example of that is Farm League Brewing in Galt. We have a great partnership with Farm League. They're very invested in music and bringing live music to the Waterloo region. So we help them by producing their shows, supporting on talent booking when needed, but also ensuring that they're able to bring artists of a high caliber to this city and provide those artists with the level of production support that they would be expecting in a venue 3 times the size. And then above that, we also support on festival production. So because we are both a promoter and a producer, we have the benefit of having experience working with talent. On large-scale festivals, we may support from a production capacity, but we often also support from a talent management capacity because we already know a lot of the larger artists that some of these festivals are working with. We have more intimate and nuanced relationships with those musicians, those creatives, and their record labels or management, because we often do direct work for them on things like live off the floor videos or album release shows or tour support. So when they're working or performing at a festival that we're a part of, we have that background when it comes to the relationship of how we can support them on site for more than just a production need or just like telling them where to be and when to be. We actually understand those artists. We work with them often. We know what they like, but we also know the things that we can do to support them as they grow in their own careers, making those festivals something that they're a little bit more of a part of than just a transactional performance. There's quite a few festivals that we're involved in, from small scale to large scale. So some of the larger ones are Meadows Festival in Fergus, Festifall happening in Galt. Both of those are partnered with Farm League Brewing. We also are the production partner for Afro Vibes, which is an African festival that happens here in downtown Kitchener. Grand River Black Music Festival, which was previously Mel Brown Festival. I'm definitely forgetting a few, but there's quite a few that we're involved in. You name it, we're probably involved in some capacity. My co-founder Adrian and I went to school together at UW. We both are engineers by trade. What we knew fundamentally is the reason we started was because we wanted to have more space for musicians in this region to be able to practice their craft, whether it be performance or rehearsal or just having a space to get together and jam. I didn't expect to actually be like part of the quote-unquote music industry 5 years ago, but things have changed. So we became a formal production company in 2019. We learned as we went. When the pandemic hit in 2020, it forced us to learn about broadcast, which honestly has shaped our business quite a bit. When we picked up cameras, it opened the door for a lot of the musicians that we were already working with to start hiring us for video services. One of the first big artists that we worked with in that capacity was JJ Wild. So she already knew us just through local circles. We were already kind of supporting each other. But during the pandemic, she turned to us to support all of her live broadcast shows and live off the floor video and things like that. And through that, we started working with her record label, which has eventually led to projects with artists including the Glorious Sons, Justin Nozuka, and so on and so forth. 2021, we started having more artists reaching out because they were seeing what we were doing in the community for support in different ways, which has honestly shaped a lot of how we've grown through the years. One of our kind of founding principles within the company is something that we call the artist funnel. And we basically think of it as when an artist reaches out to us or we come across a musician that we resonate with, there's a bit of a pathway that we've created for them through our services to help them grow. But in them growing, we grow with them. So a lot of artists have come our way that have never performed live who are now touring artists. And like for us, we can support them because we've done a lot of work in the live space. We can teach them how to create a good live show. We can teach them the standards and things to expect when you're working with third-party promoters or venues. But in turn, as they grow, they come back to us for production or for tour management services or for lighting design, and so it is a bit of a creative endeavor in that way, but it's a true partnership with a lot of the larger scale musicians that we work with. But the next step for us is creating that next level of infrastructure that we find is missing within the region. We're trying to fill the gaps that we see a lot of the musicians we work with or freelancers we work with go to Toronto or Hamilton or London, to use the resources that we don't have access to here. So we're just going to build those resources on our own. Our hope is that we're going to put our foot forward and take the leap and invest in the community, and we're hoping that the community repays us by using the space and showing us ways that they want us to support them so that we can put our resources in those buckets and ideally grow together. And that's our way of trying to level up, what this region has to offer.
As we return to Stratford with fresh insights, our conversation will continue as we explore emerging themes and strategies to strengthen our local music scene and level up our community. While there are undoubtedly many strengths to celebrate, there are also areas that are in need of improvement, especially when it comes to inclusivity and diversity. Kareem Rushdie will kick off this crucial dialogue with Jeff Wood and Selena Jones joining in to help identify ways that we can collectively address and overcome the shortcomings in our community.
You told me forever.
It's so wild, eh? I gotta get some. So my name's Kareem Rushdie, and I've been living in Stratford over 15 years and working here at Nancy Campbell Academy for 11 years. And just opened up Fresh and Free Studios inside of Nancy Campbell, which is an international high school that's focused on the arts and service. The whole purpose of opening up the studio is to work with the youth who go to this school, the local youth, but also local musicians and musicians all over the region. So to really create this incredible state-of-the-art facility that's also, community focused and youth focused at the same time. I've seen some really cool stuff going on. One more recent collaboration is between myself, Gabby, and John, or Weejo. And the three of us have started something called the Festival of Music and Art. So we've had one event so far. We just have another one coming up in July. And it's really a one-time event where people can come together, sell their art, perform their music, and a portion of the proceeds goes towards a good cause.
My name is Gabby. I am the founder of FOMA Festival of Music and Art. Along with me is Kareem and Weejo over there, the co-founders of the festival. FOMA is about music and art supporting local artists and local musicians. We want to create a platform for artists to showcase their talents and feel welcomed in a community with like-minded people. I think already there's a really great community base when it comes to music and art. One thing maybe is just for people to feel included and welcomed. I think sometimes people kind of shy away because they think that there's not a space or a place for them, but there is. And with FOMA, we want it to be inclusive, especially with artists that are up and coming. So yeah.
In my limited experience stepping into the Stratford scene, I've actually seen a little bit of siloing going on. So amazing artists, amazing talent, not as much togetherness. And so I think that's something that we need to build. That's why I'm excited you're doing this video, because you just doing the video helps to build more togetherness, And so I think that's one thing we need more. We need more collaborations, more togetherness, more sharing of knowledge and all that stuff. I know you're an educator as well. So for us, in the role of being an educator, I think part of the answer to the question of inclusivity is education. Because I really, truly believe that prejudice can only stem from ignorance. So if you don't know about a person that looks different from you, you're going to be prejudiced towards them. But as soon as you learn about them and you know about them, become friends with them, have these opportunities to learn their rich history, but also learn that what they struggle with and what they feel happy about, you realize we have way more in common than we thought. And the things we don't have in common are also beautiful. Like, oh, wow, this person does this thing differently from me, and I like that, and that's cool. We would think about a garden with only one color of flowers. That's a pretty boring garden. Nobody actually wants a garden like that. You want a garden that has different types of flowers, different colors, different sizes, shapes, but they all work together to create one beautiful garden. I think that's what we need in our communities. The arts is where it's at. I think the stage is education. In our songs, what we choose to say in our songs, has a profound effect on what people think. So if we write songs about Stratford's diversity and celebrate it, and then put that out there in the community, that has a huge effect. You cannot deny the effect that would have on all the people who hear the song. I think that's been my goal for a long time, is how to talk about important subjects that matter to us as people in our neighborhood and our society, but also have it be fun to listen to, because that's not always easy to do. The latest song is called Brave Up, and the song is an interesting song because there's 3 people in it, 3 voices, and it starts with Big Z, my indigenous brother, who talks about his experience with the history of Canada in the way that his people were treated. And then the second verse is mine, and I'm coming in as a half white, half Egyptian immigrant to Canada, but also with rich Canadian white history, and discovering that same truth. And it ends with Ethan Mack. I said, did a video on social media, and I said, and Ethan Mack, a white man through and through, which we were joking about that. But then he shares his perspective. And I feel the song is so powerful because I think in any normal circumstance, you would hear one of those voices that might share their thoughts about the issue. But to hear all 3 on one song, is super powerful. And the song ends with a hook that Ethan Mack wrote, but it's all about, we're no more divided. Let's come together. And then we all 3 voices at the end.
No more divided, let's get together. We no more divided, yeah, sitting there. We no more divided, let's get together. We no more divided, sitting there.
So I was on a podcast with Kareem about a year ago, and I was posed a question that really made me think, and made me think about how diverse people in Stratford are perceived and accepted. There definitely needs to be something done about that, and there needs to be a lot more inclusivity when it comes to events, and especially surrounding music.
Now, while I think there's a lot of great examples of how our community does great in collaborating, I do think there are some areas for improvement. And just like anything, when we love a community so much, we want it to be the best that it possibly can be. And so I think it's important for us to be having these conversations. And so I think one of the things that I would say is that we could make room for more culturally rich and ethnic types of art in our community. I think representation is really important. If we are invested in the next generation of music, it's important for us to make sure that people are represented across different cultures. I'm Selena Jones, and I'm the owner and founder of Fresh Content Management and the Chica Project, located here in Stratford, Ontario.
I'm Jeff Wood, and I'm from Stratford, and I own and operate Little Big Creative. So behind the scenes, we've done things like launch parties for music videos and for single releases. We did that through providing a space like we are in right now, which is our studio space. And we've put on concerts and it's just basically a small venue for people to have their launch parties.
Another way that we've supported local art is through video production. Jeff has taken on a really big role in some of these projects.
With Ethan McCarroll, I've done music videos in the past that it was sort of like a first of its kind around here, I think. I don't know of anybody that's made a music video with the production value that Ethan and I put into it. It was a single that he had with his brother, and he mixed and produced it himself and had his brother feature on the track, which is a pretty big deal for Ethan and his brother. And we thought it was really cool, so we made a music video to support it. And yeah, it went over really well. We visited a lot of local places in town and featured a lot of local landmarks in Stratford in the music video. So I'm extremely proud of that.
I think another way that we support local artists is through informal supports, and sometimes that just means showing up for folks and showing up to their shows.
Being a part of the community that we have in artists, it's very important to support each other and to lend not only just your time by going to their shows or by showing them support on social media, but just by being behind them and showing them support in person and letting them know that, you know, it is very hard, but if you have a community behind you, you know, anything is really possible.
I started asking friends, you know, what is it that would motivate people? Why can't we go find a place for this? Why can't we go hear this music that we all know and love, but don't have a way to consume? And my friend Tim Nichols said, well, why don't you do something about it? And I thought, oh my God, he's got me. He's trapped me in this. So I thought, well, that's a great idea, because my friend Rich Brown, monster bassist and amazing human being in Toronto, once, and forgive me for what sounds very pompous, called me a passionate supporter of other people's dreams. So I thought, well, this is an opportunity for me to help other people get to see the things that I would love to see as well. So Tim and I got together with my friend Dan Rajagopalan, and we created a festival. And we were warned doing a festival in 4 months is completely insane. You will drive yourself mad. And we discovered that, yes, that is true. However, we were able to pull it off. And we found that, yes, people do want to come out and see new music. Yes, people do want to have an experience that is tactile and real and not just a stream. And the people of Stratford want that too, not just during tourist season, but in the off season, right? And I think that's really important, is that the people here often feel that they're left out from that experience. So giving them the opportunity to have their own experience in the off season or shoulder season, I think was really important. So we reached out to what could be considered a perfect example of an indie band, which was Bedouin Soundclash. And we had a relationship with them through another friend, Pete Meads. And they were wonderful. They came in, they were absolute pros. They were very sweet, very kind, great artists to work with. We also reached out to Em Greiner, who is very local, right? She's over in St. Mary's, that way. And Em was extremely kind. She was great to come in. Like, it's a name, it brings recognition, it brings regional recognition, which is awesome. And then we had a plethora of other bands that were not known names, but the key was for them to feel as welcome and as taken care of and as important as Bedouin or as Em. And if that was the only thing that came out of it, then I would have been an absolutely happy camper. I just wanted people to feel great and have a great time and feel that their music is respected. That experience of not only do it yourself, but also having great relationships amongst the festival folks, the artists and all that, and feeling genuinely cared for, I think was really important. So I think we did well. Again, learned lots. There was so much that we learned. You know, we made missteps. We found challenges in how ambitious we wanted to be, but this was our opportunity to make those missteps. This is our opportunity to learn those things, because none of us has ever really put on a music festival. But from the feedback that we got from even after making all those mistakes, people want more, right? And I think that's really important, is that people have said, we see the value in doing this, and we see the value in live music.
I am a partner of Spotty Dog Productions, and I'm also the social media and marketing coordinator of Spotty Dog Productions. And we are a production company here based in Stratford, Ontario. And we just work with different local bands, local artists to kind of bring together different groups and bring them into the Stratford and surrounding area and just bring shows to a community that I think is lacking in those opportunities. So we really wanted to focus on Stratford. One of the partners in the company has a lot of experience within the production company side of things. He's worked on Boots and Hearts and a lot of bigger spaces. And so I think Stratford just felt like the perfect spot to create new venues and really partner with local artists, because we have so much talent in the city, but there's not a lot of opportunity in places for them to show off that talent. So we wanted to be able to help kind of connect them with the venues that will bring the crowds in and also put on the best shows and the best opportunities for the city and us and all these local and big artists collectively. We definitely really focus on the local bands and bringing them in to open for the bigger, more established bands that have played at bigger festivals, maybe bigger venues, to kind of create that relationship for them and also get their name out there. When you have a bigger artist come on that a lot of the community already knows about, and then you put a local artist on as well, that really helps create that exposure for them, and then also create that relationship with those larger artists and just gain kind of the knowledge in Stratford. Look, we have these amazing local artists as well, and it just gets their name out there so they can continue to grow on a local and hopefully more provincial level eventually. So in terms of shows that we've done before, we brought James Barker Band and Jade Eagleson both to Stratford, and those are both kind of provincial CCMA nominated big acts that we've brought in as our headlining acts. And then when we had Jade Eagleson, we had the Jana LeDuc Band open up for them, and again, she's a super big local band that they play all around and people love them, so again you kind of get that 2-for-1. And we also are just diving into the festival scene now, so we've brought a larger headliner, Stephen Lee Olson, and then we've brought about 6 local artists from all over the place. So we've got some from Exeter, we've got some people from Milverton, local to Stratford, someone from Kitchener. So we have people like Bradley Hale, we've got Max Smith, we've got Adam Cousins, Amelia Jordan, and the Jana LeDuc Band is on that one again. So we're just really trying to encompass that emphasis on local bands and local talent and why there's such a benefit in making sure that they're able to work with these larger bands at the same time. And finally, our most exciting big new announcement is we have the Big Rec Show. This is our dive into rock music, which is something we're really, really excited about, and I think we're even more amped to have put Small Town Strip Club on this show. Stratford is definitely well known for the Stratford Festival and being a great tourist town, but that's to say we can't forget about the local people that are here as well, and I think it's a really up and coming area in terms of dining, in terms of the music scene. And I think at Spotty Dog Productions, we're really trying to take advantage of that and provide those opportunities to both our local artists and also the locals that live here and give them something to do that is exciting and new for them. But on the other side of that, we want to attract people from all over the different communities and the different counties that are kind of surrounding Stratford and area. So we get those younger demographics here and they realize all the amazing things that Stratford has to offer aside from the things that other tourists might be coming from that are a different age demographic. So I think we're providing that opportunity for Stratford as an economy as a whole as well, to be bringing these new people in. They're coming for a show, but they might stay overnight and get to explore our amazing downtown Stratford and realize that, wow, there's a lot more opportunity here than I thought there might be.
My name is Alex Krotz, and I'm a freelance music producer and mixer and audio editor. I am the vice president for the Art of Music Project, which is a nonprofit organization. I run Anik Creates, which is more of an education for creators and musicians. And I work with a ton of different bands, from up-and-coming artists that are just getting started all the way to the top of the industry making gold and platinum records, which is fun. So that's what I kind of do. I work for clients all around the world, and I absolutely love what I do. So I started kind of being more active in the music industry in Stratford, or the music scene in Stratford, back when I was in grade 5, 6, even as early as that, or maybe even earlier, honestly. I've always been into music. I've always been a musician. My mother's a piano teacher, so music's been around my whole life. And as I was in kind of elementary school, I started a band, which went absolutely nowhere, but we did it. It was fun. Upon going into high school, I was recording more recording and less on the musician side, less on the I want to be in a band. I wanted to be a producer at that point. Around like 2007, I was recording a number of the local rock, punk, metal bands at the time, most notably Deny the Threat. They were coming up as a band and I was coming up as a producer, so we kind of did a lot of fun projects to both be better at our craft at that point. And it did feel like there was a scene because all the bands would help each other out and all the bands would they'd all set up their own shows and invite all the other bands, and then there'd be like pockets of those kind of shows happening. So around 2010, 2011 is when I moved away for school and stuff, and it didn't seem like there was that much of a scene as much as it was back in the day with all these bands from the area. There's still lots of talent, but it feels like there hasn't been a lot of venues that are encouraging of that are going, yeah, we'll give you the venue for $200, just have fun, don't wreck anything, and like if we can make some money, great. It doesn't seem like there's that as much of support for that over about from 2010 to 2022 kind of thing. In the past few years, it's been really cool to see a few more people like Mac Music Records, Ethan McCarroll, Kareem Rushdie as well. He's been doing stuff that builds the community, that's more about the community again. And I feel like that's what was lost for a good almost decade. Not that it wasn't here, but it was in smaller pockets. There just wasn't as big of a city community or a bigger, all the bands trying to help each other out. And I feel like that's coming back a little bit more in the past few years. I think it's really cool to see all the different styles of music that are in the area, and I'd love to see them connect some more and see that support between genres, between artists, between venues, and the people that support just going to see live local music. And it would just be really cool to see more collaboration between artists, more show collaborations between artists, and more collaborations between artists and venues around town as well, and people that aren't necessarily in the music scene but want to help the music scene in town, opening up that conversation, people talking about it, because that's how it's going to happen. People talk about it, people want to help, and I would love to see more of that in the next 5-10 years.
My name is Malcolm Cottle. I'm a musician and audio-video producer. I was born and raised in Stratford, Ontario. Music has sort of just always been a part of my life, especially with my dad being in radio. There was just always music playing in the house all the time, and at a fairly early age, my parents encouraged me and my siblings to learn a musical instrument. I would say I entered the Stratford music scene kind of in high school predominantly. I graduated from St. Mike's in 2009, so from about 2005 to 2012, I was very involved in the Stratford music scene, predominantly through a band I was in called Deny the Threat. And for us, the threshold for success was really, did we make enough money to put on another show? I think that was really the best part of that, is that there was just like this community of people that were always showing up and wanted to see shows, and it felt like there was a ton of support for bands. And it wasn't people just doing covers, it was a lot of support for bands writing and playing original music and putting on shows and trying to figure out like, how do we do lighting? How do we do live sound? Like there was a real DIY energy back then that I really loved. So yeah, there was a lot of opportunities, but you had to be willing to do a lot of the work yourself, I feel. But now looking back on it, it was really cool that we had that kind of community, that small bands like us could put on DIY shows and get people out and have a lot of fun. I feel very fortunate to have been part of the Stratford music scene at that time. Nowadays, I'm not playing in the Stratford music scene anymore, but I am pretty involved through a nonprofit that I started called the Art of Music Project. The Art of Music Project is a nonprofit organization that I started with an incredible board, including Alex Krotz, or Chuck. And basically what we wanted to do was just provide a new kind of platform for artists to explore their art and their artistic visions. And I say this a lot nowadays, but music is as much a visual medium as it is an auditory one. So we wanted to create an experience and a platform for artists to explore video production, audio production, set design, costuming, and all these kinds of things to really be all curated to them and their brand and their artistic vision, because all these things complement each other and all of these things are art within and of themselves. So we've been very fortunate to work with some Stratford artists already, all incredible artists. I still say to this day, like, there's so much talent in Stratford. I think some of the up-and-coming talent can get overshadowed by the Stratford Festival, because obviously that's kind of the professionals in town, but there's always been so much talent in Stratford, and we really just want to be a part of giving those up-and-coming artists a platform, and I want to continue doing that. Stratford is definitely a place to constantly be tapped into and keep an ear to the ground, because always a lot of talent and a lot of things are coming up in Stratford every day.
Hi, my name is Dan Stacy. I'm a fiddle player. I was born and raised here in Stratford, Ontario. I play not only traditional Irish and Canadian fiddle music, but I dabble in rock and roll and I write my own songs. I've got a bit of a band called Grackle, which is kind of a grunge rock type of thing. I've also enjoyed seeing a lot of the open mics pop up. The one at Job Site, which you host, which is a wonderful beacon of hope for those people that want to break in some new material in front of an audience. You have Revival House, that is more of an events venue, weddings, and of course it's a restaurant, but it does run a lot of shows out of there. And Rob Wiggin over there has been doing an amazing job pushing not only live music, but things like vinyl night. I find the musical taste with a lot of the powers that be in this town is quite good, but it's selective. Like it's not, it doesn't show the interest isn't there for the whole spectrum. I find Stratford boasts about that there's so much going on, but when it comes down to it, I think sometimes attendance at some of these shows for legitimate artists could be a little stronger. Let's face it, music is the greatest art form on the planet, and it's being undervalued like to the extreme now. Financially, artists, musicians need support from the community, so please, when you see a poster on a light standard or something like that, read it, go out to it, support them financially. Let's just make this happen, because there's a lot of talented people in this town, and I think there should be more opportunity for them to shine.
So the Players Backstage became a dream of the board and John Kastner to create a space alternatively to our front porch, because there was some front porch music events that they had over COVID, and then they wanted to create an actual space, an actual theater stage to supplement that programming. So when Players Construction decided to partner, and we had a local farmer donate the barn board, so it kind of fits the theme of this original property, which is from 1867. Personally, I would like to see more youthful acts on the stage, and it just so happens that this guy approached me a month into my job, and he had this very passionate and determined, and I would say vision for a partnership to create just a rock festival or just a music festival for aspiring artists. And I hope that the space continues to be as such, to support and to be a springboard for artists that are developing their talents and fostering growth within the community.
I'm Ethan McCarroll, also known as Ethan Mack. This is my studio in Stratford, Mack Music Records. I've been here for about 2 years, and this studio is the culmination of about 16 years of music industry experience, and that started in high school when I was producing for friends, playing in bands, playing the drums, and it's never stopped, and I don't think it ever will. Being from Stratford, I've always been involved in the music scene in some capacity. That started out playing drums in a rock band, and now I'm actually playing guitar and singing and rapping in another rock/pop, hip-hop type group. We've done a lot of recording here, and we're just trying to continue to grow the industry. As an individual in this scene, I've always thought the opportunities for my own growth would propel the people that have come up under me or that I'm working with. So I've always tried to work on my craft and really make my craft something special and something that other people will want to listen to and work with. That also goes back to John and I playing music since we were in elementary school even, and going through these stages together. His band actually used to open for my band back in high school, and now it's gone kind of full circle, but we're still collaborating in so many ways. And a lot of those ways are really embedded in the local scene and trying to get bands, musicians, and also just the general public kind of involved and aware of what's going on and who's around and what's to offer in this scene. So Mac Music Records, which is the studio I'm in right now, it started as more of a wood shop for me to just come in and work on creative ideas and have a place to sing through stuff where no one was listening. And eventually I realized that there was enough people out there, and they were kind of tucked away in Stratford, that were interested in recording their music, writing music, and just jamming as well. So I decided to make it something that was more publicly available. And I've worked with a wide range of people, from pop artists to folk to rock bands and beyond. So it's really been a journey, and I continue to figure out ways to better serve the community here. The music scene is kind of a two-faceted beast in that you can record music, but you also want to be able to play it live. And in Stratford, we identified that there wasn't very many opportunities for artists, especially ones that were developing, to have a platform and a stage to play. So John and I decided to create our own music festival. Our first year, we had around 10 bands that we had play out at the Stratford Perth Museum, just outside of Stratford. And then again, we did it in 2023, I guess 2023. And we're gearing up for our third year. And it's been a real adventure. We've learned a lot about how to run festivals successfully, and also in terms of how to get everyone on board, from the artists to the people that are going to be helping you on the day of the event and the public, just to raise awareness and also make this a legitimate event that will hopefully last for years and years to come. One aspect that we've tried to really boost the local scene with is bringing in bigger signed acts to rock the Muse. This year with Cat Clyde and last year with Texas King. We really see that as a way for local artists to get more notoriety and more push with their own music in front of a crowd that may not listen to them just as is. This is a part of the Stratford music scene that we kind of saw as lacking, but also as when it does happen, people tend to show up. Like John has done a number of shows that have sold out with a bigger name act that has come to town. And even through festivals such as the Ovations festivals, which ran for about 2 years, it was like huge world-class names, massive stages, and very well attended. So there is this potential for this market here, but it's just that no one has really taken the initiative to dive fully into it and make it a legitimate thing. What John and I have really identified is a growing need for the music scene to really start to flourish, and part of that is just building these connections and making these events happen that connect artists to artists, but also connect artists to the public.
Through these interviews, it's evident that the people of Stratford have a deep passion for music. Whether they are musicians, venue owners, shop owners, or behind-the-scenes supporters, there is a shared vision of untapped potential within the Stratford music scene. However, certain factors need to come together more congruently to realize this potential. Venue accessibility is one such factor identified in these conversations. As long-standing venues close and repurpose, there is a growing need for new locations and businesses to support musical opportunities. While some venues still embrace music in innovative ways, such as tribute band acts at the Hall, DJ and hip-hop showcases at the Relic, or indie music pop-ups at Matilda Gallery and Art Bar, it is clear that designated venues and a more streamlined booking process are necessary to optimize these opportunities. As new projects emerge, we must continue developing spaces that support local artists, such as an accessible rehearsal space, which many interviewees mentioned, which would especially be beneficial for up-and-coming youth acts. As Kareem Rushdie pointed out, there's a lot of potential in our music scene, but there's also a significant amount of siloing. Many stakeholders have great ideas, but a lack of communication can leave artists feeling unseen and unheard. Therefore, an ongoing dialogue and open-mindedness are essential to fostering inclusivity and cohesion in the local music scene. In conclusion, it's clear that Stratford needs to return to its roots, embracing emerging art opportunities, channeling the spirit of Tom Patterson. In doing so, we have the potential to not only enrich our local arts community, but also build upon the artistic foundation that is core to Stratford, Ontario, and potentially attract a new wave of an untapped demographic of tourism. If there's one key takeaway from this research, it's that ongoing conversations are vital to maintaining momentum and driving the movement to enrich our local music community. I'm Johan Yunt, and this was my research documentary on building a thriving and cohesive music scene in the Stratford area. And hopefully this video will serve as a conversation piece to get the ball rolling to continue to create more opportunities, more connectedness, and more harmony in the Stratford music scene.
Try not to lose it. It's an uphill battle, but you keep on moving. Yes, you keep on. Yes, you keep on. Yes, you keep on. Yes, so keep on.